Hi, it's Abby with the Bead Place, and in this DIY December episode, we're going to show you how to make these fun, freeform wire cuffs. In order to make a cuff like this, we're going to need 12 gauge aluminum wire, and we're going to need a nylon jaw pliers. So the first thing that we're going to do is start the cuff off with a little base loop like that. How we're going to do that is we're going to take the nylon pliers and just basically curl the end of the wire into a little loop. So then the rest of it you can pretty much do with your hands. And we're just going to make some freeform little loops. I like to keep the loops going in one direction, like this. You can do big loops and small loops and overlap them. And then of course, depending on how wide your loops are, you're going to have a different width of your bracelet. So I'm just kind of making all kinds of freeform curls. And you can see that this project is very easy. And because the aluminum is so soft, you can create lots and lots of teeny tiny and large loops and manipulate it to correct anything that you've kind of made that you don't like. So you can make it as dense or as airy as you want. This one that I'm doing here is a little bit more dense than this one here. I'm making more smaller loops. And you can kind of adjust it so it's kind of uniform in width, or not. If you want to kind of keep it freeform, go for it. So once I have a length that will wrap around my wrist, what I'm going to do is grab my wire cutter and cut the end, leave about an inch, set the wire to the side, grab your nylon pliers, and curl the wire back in on itself. Make that loop, and then you can kind of push the loop in wherever it needs to go, like that. So our next step then is to gently keep bending the wire gradually into a cuff shape. Now, as you bend it, you might start to notice that you get these pieces that stick up. Just concentrate on those pieces and bend them with your fingers as best you can. Now, if you feel like you need a little bit more help to bend it, no problem. You can always brace the wire with your nylon pliers and then bend it. Usually I find that kind of grabbing it like this and using my thumbs works a little bit better for me. So just bend and bend and bend until you think it looks like a cuff bracelet. Make sure that it's kind of even on both sides, and then try it on. So if you notice that it's a bit too big, an easy solution is to just kind of push these loops together so they overlap a bit more. Just like that. So that you see is making the bracelet significantly smaller. And then manipulate it back into shape as you need to. Now let's say we made the bracelet a bit too small. What you would do is just gently pull it out a little bit, like this. And again, reshape so that everything is nice and flat. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so it fits my wrist. And there we go. Thanks for watching. Before I go, I want to share with you the fact that you can easily dress these bracelets up by adding beads. So I have some Swarovski crystals here and some fine gauge wire. This is a soft temperament 26 gauge wire. I'm going to kind of start at one end and just pass the wire through one of my loops and then kind of coil it around to anchor. So I'll do that and then show you what it looks like. So it's basically like you're sewing with the wire. And of course, since this is kind of an organic looking cuff, you really don't have to be precise with it at all. Just make sure that you don't have any tail ends sticking out. And if you do, cut them down. So, right there, you can see that I have an organic little coil. And then what I like to do sometimes to make sure it sticks is I'll take my nylon pliers and just mush it into the aluminum a little bit. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is string a bead onto my wire. So string a bead and then go to a section that's pretty close. So this is where my wire started. I'm going to wire the bead right to here. So I'm going to take the wire and just basically coil and act like you're sewing with the fine gauge wire basically. So I'm coiling around that little end of the wire. So this is what one pass looks like. I know it's silver on silver, so it's a little difficult to see, but you want to do a couple passes just to ensure that it's going to be secure. So I have that. Now what you could do if you just want to place the beads sporadically is you could coil this a few more times and then cut the wire, then start again somewhere else. But what I'm going to do is just basically wrap this wire around the bracelet until I get somewhere else that I want to place another crystal. So let's say I'm going to place a crystal right here. I'm then going to coil a little bit more tightly around that area and maybe include 2 wires this time instead of 1. That's also going to make sure that the bracelet holds together quite securely. So it looks like that then. I'm going to place a bead on the wire and oops, and then secure the bead right here to this wire. And feel free to go around multiple wires if you're in an area where you have a lot of overlap. That's totally fine, nothing against that. So I'm going to keep doing this for a little while and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So I've added my last crystal and I have about maybe, let's say that's 3 inches of wire. What I'm going to do is just coil around this last wire of the bracelet a few extra times. And once your piece of wire is no longer long enough for you to easily be able to coil, you can trim it off. Then again, try using your nylon pliers to just smush that wire into the aluminum. And so then you can carefully bend your bracelet into cuff shape. And depending on your crystal placement, you might need to kind of be careful that you don't bend or pull out any of your coils that you made while adding crystals on, but you'll still be able to see that the crystallized version or beaded version can be sized rather easily as well. So here's the bejeweled version. So all these materials can be found at www.beadplace.net. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and all the links will be in the description below. So thanks for watching.